Hi guys. Well, today I'm going over some paperwork in the studio, and it made me think to myself, you know what? For a long time we haven't done a video on how I generate an income or how I make money from photography. So I thought today, you know what? We'll go over that because there has been some changes over the last, say, couple of years since we did the last video on how to generate or how I earn an income in photography. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's talk about that today. We've got a cup of coffee, we've got some notes, we've got some paperwork. So it's kind of a paperwork day, but hey, it's Gary here with Gary Clayton Photography. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and you know what? Let's just get right into it. So, first of all, over the last few years, I've had several different questions and several different emails about how I generate an income, or do I work in photography full time? Do I charge for my work? How much do I charge for my work? And so on and so on and so on. And there's been lots of changes as we progress, as we evolve, whether we're starting out on day one, or whether we're just thinking about a photography business, or whether we've been in photography or had a photography business for several years. There's constant changes taking place. So today, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about how I personally generate an income from photography. So first of all, one question I'd like to answer, which I get asked a lot. Did I go to photography school? Yes, I did. I went to Georgian College, which is in the city of Barrie, Ontario, or one of the campuses is in the city of Barrie, Ontario. I went there for 3 years on a night school program. So during the day, I could still work at my regular job or whatever it may have been to generate an income, which I did. So 3 years of night school. I did graduate with a certificate of graduation, if you will, in the field of photography. So that kind of answers that question. Yes, I am formally trained as a photographer. Okay, income. Well, as I've just mentioned, it depends whether you're just starting out, whether you have clients, whether you're looking for that first client, or whether you've been doing this for a long time. But another question I get asked a lot is, do I do any work for free? So let's answer that question right now. Do I do any work for free? Yes, I do. I've just finished doing a shoot for the Roman Catholic Church in a nearby community. They wanted shots of their church in the town of Stayner, Ontario, and also in the town of Wasaga Beach, Ontario. So I went out to those two locations, I set up, I did a shoot, I came back to the studio, downloaded everything into Lightroom, I edited these images, and then I printed them off on my Canon Pro 100, a sample of images, 5x7s, and I delivered them to their rectory or to their parish, or I'm not sure what that's actually called in the Catholic religion, but I delivered them to the church for the priest to examine and so on, and along with a business card and so on. That was just a few days ago. I haven't heard anything back from them yet. Maybe those images are just fine, or who knows. But there would be no charge for something like that. If I'm working for the church in that particular case, I figure, you know what, the least I can do is a little something for free for something like that. Secondly, I do a lot of underwater photography, and a couple of days ago, I dropped off a nice framed image of an underwater scene to a local dive shop that every year has their Christmas party, and they raffle off and auction off items and prizes, and that money goes to charity or as a charitable donation to organizations that they support. So I donated an image for that. So yes, I do certain things for free, or I work for free, pro bono, if you will. If somebody calls me and says, listen, would you shoot my wedding for free? I would say, no, I'm sorry, I won't. There's an awful lot of work involved in a wedding, and so on. So certain things I do for free. So hopefully that just answers that question. I do some pro bono work, but it has to be for an organization that I want to do some pro bono work for. Okay, fine. Right to it. Do I work, our next question that I've had, do I work full-time as a photographer? No, I do not. I work about 20 hours a week for the man. What I mean by that is I work 20 hours a week doing another job, nothing related to photography at all. And I get paid 20 hours a week for that. The rest of my time I am working probably another 40, 50 or more hours a week on photography. Probably more than that. Most of my time revolves around the photography world, regardless of what type of photography I'm doing. And so I do generate an income from that. So from my 20 hours a week working for the man and the rest of the time working within in the photography field, that is how I generate my total income. Okay, so on the photography side of things, how do I generate an income? Well, you know what? There's all the traditional things that you can do in photography. You can be a wedding photographer, a real estate photographer, a landscape photographer. You can do events, products. You can be a portrait photographer. There's all kinds of things you can do in photography. I have a friend, a good friend, who lives in the city of Toronto, Ontario, which is 4 million people. He's a wedding photographer, and that's pretty much all he does is wedding photography. I live in a community of about 20,000 people, which is surrounded by other smaller communities of 4,000 or 5,000 people here and there. I find that I cannot specialize. I don't have enough of a client base to say, okay, I am a wedding photographer, or I am a real estate photographer, or I'm a landscape photographer, or whatever. So I find I have to branch off into all different areas of photography, which means this week I could be photographing a wedding on Saturday. Next week I could be doing a real estate shoot or a portrait shoot or some family photography that involves children and their family pet. Whatever it might be, it could be event, it could be product photography for some company that's launching a new product that's going on their website and in their magazines and so on. I could be out shooting landscape photography. Fine. So those are the different ways that I do generate an income. Kind of branching off from that just slightly. This year alone, for the year of 2018, it's now coming towards the end of October. I think it's the 26th or 27th of October today. Okay, I do sell landscape images. Now, this year alone, I was just going over the bucks, and that's what kind of prompted me to do this. But this year alone, I have sold 47 landscape images. Now, these 47 landscape images are sold at different venues. And they're usually framed images. In fact, if I count it as a sale of an image, it is a framed image, and it's usually a larger image. Something along this line right here. At the end of this video, by the way, I will pop up some of the images that I've sold for me this year and over the last few years. But this is an example right here of a particular scene. It's the Collingwood Marine Terminal Grain Terminal. It's in the town of Collingwood, right on the harbour. It's printed, it's framed, it's matted. That image is ready to hang on a client's wall. Images like this I display in different venues, such as artisan craft type markets, farmers markets, galleries and so on. And as I say, through the selling season of 2018, I've sold 47. I've been doing that part of things for the last 3 years, and over that 3 years I've sold around 150 images, very similar to what you've seen as far as size and so on is concerned. I do a lot of different things when it comes to images. Smaller images like this. These don't particularly count as an image sale when it comes to the numbers, but it does generate me an income, and I do sell a lot of this stuff. So, okay, that is one of my major forms of income as far as my photography is concerned, and that is as a landscape photographer selling my images. I do that in lots of different places. I do get to travel the world. I love shooting the Lake District in England. There's lots of places I want to get to. I've been to Iceland. I'm actually going to Iceland in about a week or so, continuing my endeavors and my adventures and my work there in Iceland. And we're actually going to talk about that on the next video before I leave. We're going to talk about the gear I'm taking with me. But anyhow, that's another video. So landscape photography brings me a huge income. When I say a huge income, brings me a majority income. Not huge, a majority income. Okay, stock photography. We talked about that once before, and we talked about different sites that are available. I use stock photography sites, but I don't promote myself usually or I don't work hard enough on the stock photography sites to really generate much of an income. I could be 10, 20 or $30 in any given month. And people might think, well, 10, 20 or $30 isn't much of an income from, say, stock photography. And I agree with you, it isn't, but I'm hoping this winter, first of all, to be able to get more time here in the office/studio and really get working more on my stock photography program. But again, working as a photographer, each little area that I work at, and as I mentioned earlier, I do diversify myself all over the photography kind of world. Each little bit contributes. So in any given month, I might shoot, let's say, 2 weddings. That could be $2,000 or $3,000 right there. I could bring in $20 from stock photography. Fine, so there's another $20 right there. I might sell 3 or 4 landscape images, so that could be another several $100s, and so on. So all these pieces of income coming in from the different kind of areas of photography that I work within all contribute to generating the overall income. Just a couple of days ago, my last paying kind of shoot, if you will, was 2 days ago, and I shot a private residential real estate property in the town of Creemore, Ontario. You've heard me talk about Creemore before, about 10 miles from here, I think about 5,000 or 6,000 people, whatever. Beautiful community, and I do actually quite a bit of work there. So real estate photography is another way that I do generate an income. So as you can see, you've got to be diversified, or I do, living in smaller communities. Living in larger communities, you could in time maybe specialize in one particular genre of photography. Again, be it weddings, family portraits, real estate product, whatever it may be. Another question that I've been asked several times: how do I make contact with people? How do I put myself out there to generate an income? Okay, well, first of all, obviously things such as word of mouth, me speaking to people and saying, hey, I'm a photographer, I can do that. Or business cards, next step. Have business cards, make sure you've got something to hand out to people, to possible clients, when you can introduce yourself to people. And you can put these up on notice boards and so on. Brochures, flyers, that type of thing. It can all help. A website. I believe a website is pretty much mandatory, because when you do speak to a client, nine times out of 10 they're going to say, oh, you have a website. They want to look at your website. So you need a website. I use Vistaprint for my website. Costs a few $100s a month. But you know what? I can change it, do whatever I want with it at any time, which I usually do during the winter months. Don't get any time in the summer to work on those things. So a website is very, very, very important. Social media presence. Hey, well, of course, I have a YouTube channel. I have a Gary Clayton Photography Facebook page. I also have a Georgian Bay Facebook page, which is for my underwater photography primarily. So I have 2 separate Facebook pages there. I do have a Twitter account. I don't put a lot on there, but I do put links to my videos on there. I also have an Instagram account, which has nothing on there. My goal this winter, again, when I get more time in the studio/office, is to build my Instagram account and get on top of that. And again, these are all ways of getting your name out there, getting exposure, people knowing who you are, and possibly generating an income through eventually possibly being able to monetize your YouTube channel and so on. Facebook is a great way to advertise. There's programs out there now where you can promote yourself as a real estate photographer, a wedding photographer, whatever it is you want to do, or you are doing, or whatever it is you want to promote on Facebook. And this kind of Facebook advertisement is thrown out there in areas that you pick, to age groups of possible clients that you choose, and they get to see your ad on Facebook. And in all truthfulness, pretty much everybody's on Facebook these days. So Facebook is something that's, I'm actually just starting to do that part myself. As far as advertising on Facebook, again, that's a project for this winter. Real estate. How do I meet real estate clients? Well, first of all, what I did do back in the day was I went around to all the real estate shops back in the day when I was starting out as a commercial or professional photographer. And I would have a little brochure made up of some sample images and so on, and I would walk into a real estate office and say, hey, my name's Gary Clayton. and I'm a photographer. I do real estate photography. And I'd like to introduce myself. And quite often they'd say, well, do you have any work? Do you have something to show us? And of course, at the beginning, you didn't. But eventually, I did get that first client. Eventually, some of these images could get onto my website. So eventually, I could say, yes, go to my website, take a little look. I'll also do talks, if you will, to groups of real estate agents at their office. Quite possibly this is on the first or second meeting I have with them. They bring me in to do a talk and they'll say things such as, okay, what can you do for me? Or what can you do for our real estate office? So I'll make a presentation to them about what I can do. If it's a new office, and even today I will do this, going back to that pro bono work, I would probably do the first, be it commercial real estate or residential real estate, shoot for them pro bono to show them my work within this office and hopefully develop my work with that client from that point on. Hopefully our relationship would grow. So again, going back to that pro bono work as a professional photographer, yes, again, that's an instance where I would do a pro bono first time shoot for a new office, a real estate office. I would probably do that. And so that's another way that I kind of introduce myself or generate new clients, and also maintain my existing clients, because there's always somebody else knocking on everybody's door saying, I'm a photographer too. So you need to work on maintaining your client base as well as expanding your client base. So hey, these are all just, you know, it's just turned into a quick 5 or 10 minute video on, again, just a review, an update, if you will, of how I generate an income. Going back quickly, or backpedaling a little bit to the landscape photography, one thing I didn't really cover is I said things such as, well, I sell in galleries and at different artisan type venues and so on my images. And I do. And it is really good for me to do that, because not only do I get the opportunity to meet people and sell images, but I also get the opportunity for people to see my advertising, my business cards. I get to talk to people about the photography I do, and I get a lot of bookings that come from that. Such as weddings. People will say, hey, my daughter's getting married next year. You know, I'd love to talk to you about wedding photography. This type of thing. So I do get lots of bookings from being present at some of these photography landscape shows where I sell images. So that's another thing, making sure that you are out there and able to talk and meet with potential clients. Hey, that's pretty much it. I'm going to wrap it up at that. Don't want to go on all day, and I do have work to do. I have to get back to it, but it's been a good few minute break. So hey, again, it's Gary here with Gary Clayton Photography. I hope this has been a little bit useful to you. By all means, ask me questions. I will answer them if I can. If not, I'll try to guide you in a direction to somewhere that can answer them for you. Please give me a like, give me a share, leave a comment. Do subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and hey, take a look at a handful of my images that have sold this particular year for me and have been good selling images. Stay tuned for my next video coming up, which should be out in a few days, and we're going to talk about the gear I'm going to take with me on my next upcoming trip to Iceland. Talk to you later. Bye bye. Take a look at the images.